Well, I'm not really surprised at this point. You know, he had an unbelievable week again. Ton of home runs, driving the ball over the place, throwing runners out, playing really good defense. So, you know, I mean, what he's done in 2 weeks has been pretty special.
How do you think he's feeling about all this?
Well, I would think he'd be pretty confident at this point. You know, his at-bats have been really good. He's made adjustments in counts. So I think he feels really good.
Does he remind you of anybody in the batter's box?
Well, I think it's too early to talk about that. I mean, obviously he's a really talented kid, or I don't think you could do this. But time will tell.
So I know you hope it'll never happen, but you have to assume there's going to be some amount of regression at some point.
Well, I think if there wasn't, it would be the best year ever had. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to have his ups and downs like any other player. But again, I think he's really a talented young man, and then I think he's going to be a really productive player.
Well, he's hitting both fastballs and off-speed pitches. What does that tell you about his swing?
That he's seeing the ball well and he recognizes pitches. I mean, and there's probably a no panic in him if you can do that. He doesn't worry about hitting behind in the count. He's not in a hurry. He's looking for a pitch to hit.
Joe, I know you look at this stuff as different than fans do. Fans think this stuff is fun. You don't necessarily look at it as being fun.
It's fun to watch.
Even for me, my question was, someone who's got to actually pull the levers and do the managing. I mean, is just fun still a possibility, or is it a re-energizing kind of thing? Re-energizing kind of thing for you?
No, I think it's fun to watch. I think it's fun to see kids. You know, it's enjoyable for me to see kids have success and to kind of grow up in front of you and become big league players and really successful. You know, when we had him in spring training, I mean, we knew that he was a much better player than he showed in spring training, but there was a thought process. We really want him to play every day in a sense. You know, if he would have forced his way on the team, that would have been one thing, but we wanted him to continue to develop, and I think that has helped. And you see what we think is probably a finished product. You know, this is who he is. He's going to be a good player.
What is the most surprising or advanced skill that he's shown so far?
I think his instincts to pick up little things in the game where he might need to make a change. You know, you talk about a scouting report and how to get somebody out. Let's say a pitcher doesn't have that pitch going right time. He's able to figure out a different way to approach it, and that's been impressive to me.
How do you explain, I know you probably answered this before, how do you explain Pineda's 5.02 ERA
I can't.
and 6-0 or 6-10 with the strikeout to walk ratio?
When he makes mistakes, they're hit. Is probably the best way to say it. I mean, we scratch our heads sometimes. He'll go 5 2/3, strike out 11 guys and give up 5 runs. And we scratch our head, but it just seems like when he makes mistakes, guys aren't missing it.
Joe, is it hard to tell, like with a guy like Judge, if he's in a slump, which players get into, or the league's made an adjustment to him quickly and he has to adjust back?
Yeah, you know, I don't think there's a whole lot of surprises as much as there was anymore, what a guy's able to hit or what he's not able to hit. Yeah, they're going to make some adjustments, and you're going to see different stuff. But even the scouting reports that we get from players from AAA are so much more advanced than they were. There's video, there's a lot of things that support, you know, what you're looking at in AAA. But, you know, I think there's adjustments that he has to make. I think part of it is going to be, you know, for some of these kids, they haven't seen the pictures, and they're not sure, you know, what's Dylan G's curveball going to look like to them. Yeah, they can see it on TV, but how are you going to pick it up? So I think that's part of it. You know, and I'm sure there's at times some anxiety about being a young player and being at this level and wanting to prove that you belong. But our job is to keep them calm and go out and play and continue to get better.
Do you think that Sanchez's unbelievable start provides cover for the other two guys, or are they putting pressure on themselves that we're not doing that?
Now that's really a good question. I think I would say neither, in a sense. I think the guys are generally happy for each other when they're doing well. I hear them pulling for each other, and you know, I think Gary probably looks at Judge and Tyler Austin saying, I know they're much better hitters than that, and they're going to hit, and they believe in each other. So, you know, I think it's hard not to look at Gary Sanchez and be in somewhat of awe of what he's done. I mean, older players in awe of him. what he's done. So I think it's more about they're pulling for each other, and I don't think they're trying to keep up with each other. I think the biggest thing you want to do as a young player is prove that you belong, and that can be difficult sometimes.
Sorry. Assuming there's as much information about Sanchez out there as there was about Judge, why has the league been unable to find holes in Sanchez yet?
Well, I think at times, they have success, but he's probably been a little bit quicker adjusting in at-bats and picking up the ball better. And that's probably been the biggest difference.
So what do you like about Headley in the lineup today?
Well, he's had some success off of Dylan G. Lefties have had more success off of Dylan G. And, and as I said, he's going to play third base. I was going with a hot hand, and that's why he's in there.
It's been more than a generation, but does it bring back old times, Yankees and Royals here in Kansas City with playoff contention on the line?
Oh, I think it's always exciting. I mean, especially you're talking about a team that won the World Series last year. It goes back years ago with George Brett and all those guys. So, yeah, I think it's fun.
Dellen's workload hasn't been very much this month.
Correct.
You've got some games here where you want to win. Could you use him for 6 outs if you wanted?
I don't know if I would use him for 6 outs because I haven't done that the whole year, but I would use him for multiple innings in a sense, maybe 4 or 5 if I had to. I don't know about 6. I mean, I guess you could look at it if you had to do it. But I think I've used him an inning and a third in the last week, so it's not something that I won't do.
And you haven't used him for as many innings as you used in the last 2 years.
Correct.
Now that he's strictly in closer, I don't know if you're just going to stick to 1 inning or...
No, I mean, I'm not afraid to use him multiple innings if I have to. I mean, the other day I told you I was going to get the last 9 outs out of Dellin and Clippard, and we didn't get to 9 outs.
What was your reaction when you saw Carlos Beltran's painted on head?
I laughed. I was kind of shocked, thinking, did he have hair? Any hair? And I kept, no, he used to shave his head. So I think it was fun. I think people had fun with it, and it was a different look.
It was.
It's interesting because I think we live in a really good place. Are there problems in our country? Absolutely. But I think we live in a pretty good place, and that's the feeling that I have in my heart. So, obviously I grew up in the Midwest. I'm not sure where Colin grew up and, how he grew up. He's a football player. I was a baseball player, so I think it's different. I think there's different backgrounds in a sense. So I'm not sure that, what it's like to be Colin Kaepernick, and he has no idea what it's like to be me. It's not how I would have chose, to show my displeasure in what's going on in our country, because obviously I'm concerned about, some of the things that are going on here. But people choose to do what they want. It's a free country, but it's probably not the way I would do it.
Would you have an issue with one of your players taking the same stance?
I mean, it would be something I'm sure that would be talked about. But again, you have a freedom to express yourself in this country, and that's the beauty of our country, I think. So, I mean, it hasn't happened here. I haven't had to approach it, and I'm not so sure how I would approach it.
So your dad was a vet. Do you tend to personalize, a guy not standing for the anthem and just slap in the face toward the military, or as a legitimate protest?
I don't necessarily think that he meant it to slap our military in the face. But again, I'm not so sure what's going through his mind because I have never sat down and talked to him. So I think it has to do more with some of the social issues in our country that he's expressing displeasure.